Special thanks to Dangen Entertainment for providing us with the review key. After 4 years of development, the world started to hear some buzz of an indie game as it quickly began to pique the interest of many. Bug Fables, The Everlasting Sapling by Moonsprout Games aims to bring forth an adventure reminiscent of the classic Paper Mario games. Just how is this adventure? Is it worth joining these bugs on their quest? My name is Tris, and let's find out in this review. The plot to Bug Fables opens up with the story of the Ant Kingdom and the legends of the Everlasting Sapling, an incredible treasure said to grant unending youth and strength. We're then introduced to two of our three protagonists, Kabu and V, two lone bugs simply looking to join the Explorers Association and embark on quests of their own, be it for fame, riches, or personal growth. Not long after, the duo becomes a trio, when Leaf, a mysterious moth saved from danger, joins the party. Together, the trio take on missions to help residents all across Bulgaria, fighting terrifying monsters, and uncover the mysteries behind the legend of the Everlasting Sapling. I'll be honest here. At first, the plot of the game was a little iffy to me. The first chapter quickly threw you in with Kabu and V, who were intentionally at odds with each other. After completing the first chapter, establishing the main trio, and giving a taste of what the rest of the plot has to offer, I quickly found myself becoming more invested. Despite its initially odd pacing, the plot quickly rounded out and its depth became more clear. It's a charming story filled with growth in its characters, humor at just the right moments, and an air of mystery that only thickens the deeper you get. I have to admit, my first impression made me doubtful, but I came to quickly take that back and truly enjoy my experience. When it comes to the gameplay, I'll divide this into two sections. First, let me talk about the overall gameplay. While exploring across Bulgaria, players control the three protagonists, able to swap between them with the simple press of a button. Each party leader, aka the one being controlled, has their own overworld ability. V can throw her boomerang to hit or collect objects from a distance, Kabu can cut down grass, and Leaf can freeze both water and enemies. As you progress through the game, you'll get various upgrades to these abilities, such as V being able to hold her boomerang in place. The overall gameplay is relatively quick and smooth, though sometimes I wish for ways to move even just a little bit faster when in larger areas. You can jump around, but it doesn't really change the movement speed at all. When it comes to the character abilities, I found Kabu's to be the easiest to default to. Simply walking around cutting the grass felt nice, like exploring around Paper Mario, interacting with every bush to get a coin. Leaf's freeze ability was a little tough to time at times, but I'm almost certain that was just me being bad, rather than a fault of the game. V's boomerang is something I'd like to take some time to talk about though. Perhaps it was because of the controller I was using, but it was rather easy to accidentally send the boomerang in the wrong direction. Additionally, while the other two had reasonable cooldowns on their abilities, mostly tied to the animation finishing, there were times where I found myself repeatedly pressing the button for V, but she would only throw out her item after several attempts. The spacing for holding it out is also a bit difficult to get and requires some trial and error. If you end up hitting an invisible wall with it, you can forget even trying to hold it in place. Ultimately, after a few frustrating moments and instances, I was able to get better at using it, but it definitely gave me some trouble for the first couple chapters of the game. Next up, let's talk about the battle system. Being a turn-based RPG, battles are divided into player turns and then enemy turns. During the player turn, whichever character is up front has a bonus to their attack power, but is more likely to be targeted during the enemy's turn. Players can either trio attack out of order, or simply swap to which character is up front. In terms of battle options, there's attacks, skills, which use up TP, items, turn relay, which allows another character to go in place of that character, and strategies. Each character has their own type of commands in order to attack. Kabu's attacks involve holding a direction until the final box lights up, Leaf's attacks involve pressing the right button after it appears, and V's attacks are about pressing a button at the right time. While defending against enemies, you can press a button with good timing to block the damage. All these are incredibly reminiscent of the action commands from the Paper Mario games, and are handled very nicely here. Attacks happen quickly and smoothly. The battle system as a whole is really easy to understand too, which is very nice. Each of the 3 characters also have their specialties in battle. Kabu can flip over enemies that have higher defense, V can hit flying enemies, and Leaf can hit enemies underground. All in all, it's a really fun battle system that I enjoyed quite a bit. The gameplay in Bug Fables is very clearly reminiscent of the early Paper Mario games. It plays a lot like its inspiration, while nicely adding its own mechanics both to the overworld and battle to help give it its own identity. While I do feel it's a little too similar in gameplay at times, it didn't take away from the experience at all. Much like its inspiration, Bug Fables features 2D characters in a 3D environment. The art style is overall rather simplistic, most of the characters having less frames in their animations, while the world has a bright, colorful, cartoony look to it. It looks pretty nice, and is certainly cute, though there's a few times where it leaves a little more to be desired. V is easily the most expressive character in all of her animations and writing, but I wish there was a little more from Kabu or Leaf. I appreciate the simplistic style the game has going, but it definitely feels a little off at times. One thing I do really love about this game is its writing. The characters all have pretty great dialogue, and I love seeing the main trio interact with each other. It's funny seeing Kabu have to keep the group from making impulsive decisions. Flavored text is nicely done too, and it's obvious that the game has a ton of personality and charm put into it. Working off of that, the entire cast of characters is just very nicely handled. So many of the characters are interesting and don't feel like flat NPCs. Many have depth and many have side quests that give them personality as well. It was really fun to explore Bulgaria and talk to all the different kinds of NPCs. While I appreciate how quick and to the point the game is, I do wish it gave me at least an option to have its inventory menu tutorialized or explained to me. And that's because it took some exploring around the menu to find everything. It was generally pretty simple, but some of its menus are a little nested and aren't incredibly obvious, such as the medals menu also having a list of all the moves, skills, and abilities of each character. Something big I have to point out about Bug Fables is something I touched upon a little bit back in gameplay. There's quite a few instances where it feels a little too similar to Paper Mario games. The rank up system offering the choices between HP, TP, or MP, the Explorer point system to reach said rank ups, the animation for enemy deaths. I've had to remind myself quite a few times that this world isn't made out of paper, because while the characters being 2D isn't the problem, sometimes the animations felt a bit too much Paper Mario. It's not exactly a bad thing, but it does make me concerned that the game may be more remembered for being like Paper Mario, rather than because of its own identity. The music is something I'd like to praise next. It's rather nice to listen to, and many of its songs feel perfectly fitting to the location or scenario. It was pleasant to learn that many bosses and mini-bosses have their own themes. It's definitely become a soundtrack that I can find myself listening to more. Something else I want to make note of is the level design. I'm a big fan of the levels in this game, both visually and from a design standpoint. They flow really nicely and encourage revisitation at later points. Perhaps most importantly, the puzzles are thought-provoking and fun. Having to freeze water, then move it as Kabu, then use that ice block as a platform for V to reach a far-off object, just felt really satisfying to solve. Despite a potential identity issue, Bug Fables is honestly a good game. It's very clean, quick, and to the point. Nothing is ever over-explained, and the player is given a fair amount of freedom, and exploration is actively encouraged. There's plenty of content to complete beyond the main story and posted side quests. I think the game has an overall solid presentation, though its simplistic art style and potential identity issue may leave some more to be desired to some players. As I've been spending my time trying to do everything I can in Bug Fables, I can confidently say that I genuinely really enjoy this game. Being a massive fan of the original Paper Mario games, this definitely appealed to that inner fan. Even beyond that though, I came to really enjoy this game as its own identity. I'd love to see more of V, Kabu, and Leaf, as well as Bulgaria as a whole. If you're a fan of the Paper Mario series, a fan of turn-based RPGs, or honestly just want a cute and fun game to try out, I highly recommend giving Bug Fables a try. It's really a fun game that's worth all the buzz it's been getting. Some may say it's simply a little indie game, but there's definitely plenty of hours of content here, truly on par with the adventures it will more than likely be compared with. Before we go, I'd like to give a special thanks to all of our patrons. If you like this video, give us a like. Want to share your thoughts on the game? Leave a comment below, or let us know on Twitter or Discord, which you can find our links to in the description. Make sure to subscribe to Source Gaming for more, and always remember to return to the source.